The blizzard had been raging for 6 hours when Marcus Rodriguez received the call that would alter his life. As a paramedic and a single father of 2, he was no stranger to working in harsh conditions. But this storm was something the city hadn't experienced in decades. The roads were impassable, emergency services were overwhelmed, and the affluent Riverside district had been without power for most of the day. "Marcus, we have a priority medical emergency on Elm Street," crackled the voice over his radio. "A 7-year-old girl is experiencing a severe asthma attack. Her family requests immediate transport to Children's Hospital." Marcus checked his GPS, feeling a grimace form on his face. Elm Street was at the heart of the storm's path, and all roads leading there were blocked by fallen trees and heavy snow drifts. Yet a child's life was at stake, and he knew what needed to be done. What he didn't know was that the call came from the home of Victoria Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Industries, and one of the city's most influential women. He was also unaware that Victoria had spent the past few hours trying in vain to get help from private medical services, only to be told that no one could reach her house until the storm subsided. 40 minutes later, Marcus arrived at a grand mansion, drenched from the storm and burdened with his heavy emergency pack. The woman who answered the door was someone he recognized from business magazines, a tall, blonde woman usually composed, but now visibly frantic. "Thank God you made it," Victoria said, ushering him inside. "I'm Victoria Sterling. My daughter, Emma, is upstairs and struggling to breathe. Her inhaler isn't working, and I can't get her regular doctor to come out in this weather." Marcus followed Victoria up the grand staircase, noting the expensive artwork and luxurious furnishings, which spoke of wealth beyond his imagination. However, all of that faded in importance when he reached the bedroom. Emma lay in a large 4-poster bed, her breathing labored and lips tinged blue from lack of oxygen. "Hi, sweetheart," Marcus said softly, kneeling next to the bed. "My name is Marcus, and I'm here to help you feel better. Can you tell me your name?" "Emma," the little girl whispered, her voice barely audible. Marcus assessed her condition quickly and noted the severity of her breathing difficulties. This couldn't wait for the storm to pass or for the roads to be cleared. Emma needed to get to a hospital immediately. "Miss Sterling," he said, turning to Victoria. "Emma needs emergency treatment that I can't provide here. We need to get her to the hospital now." Victoria gazed out at the storm, frustration evident in her expression. "How? The roads are completely blocked. I've called every private ambulance service in the city, and they all said it's impossible to get through." Marcus paused for a moment, considering their options. The nearest hospital was 2 miles away, and the streets were impassable by car. But there was another way, though it would require him to carry the sick child through the blizzard on foot, navigating conditions that would challenge even the most experienced outdoorsman. "I can carry her," Marcus said calmly. "I have winter survival training, and I know these streets well enough to get us there safely on foot." Victoria stared at him, disbelief on her face. "You would carry my daughter 2 miles through a blizzard? That's incredibly dangerous." "I'm a father too," Marcus replied, gently wrapping Emma in warm blankets. "If this were my daughter, I'd want someone to take that risk. And I don't think we have any other choice if we want to save Emma's life." As Marcus carefully lifted Emma into his arms, he felt the trust of a child who was too ill to be scared, and the desperate hope of a mother who had tried every other option. Victoria gathered emergency supplies and dressed warmly, insisting she would join them despite Marcus' concerns about her ability to handle the harsh conditions. The journey ahead would test every limit of Marcus' training and endurance. With Emma safely in his arms and his emergency pack on his back, he navigated waist-deep snowdrifts, fallen trees blocking entire streets, and abandoned cars buried in ice. Victoria, struggling to keep up, found strength she didn't know she had, driven by the determination to stay with her daughter. How much farther? Victoria called over the roar of the wind as they reached an impassable intersection. "About half a mile," Marcus called back, adjusting Emma to keep her warm and secure. "The worst part is behind us." By the time they reached the emergency entrance of Children's Hospital, Marcus felt Emma's breathing start to stabilize. Whether from the medication he had administered during the journey or simply being closer to medical help, the hospital staff was ready and waiting for them. "You saved her life," Victoria said to Marcus as the medical team rushed Emma into treatment. I don't know how to thank you. Marcus, exhausted but relieved that Emma was now in capable hands, smiled. You don't need to thank me, Miss Sterling. I was just doing my job. No, Victoria replied firmly. Your job was to respond to an emergency call. What you did tonight went far beyond any professional obligation. You carried my daughter through a blizzard because you understood that her life was worth any risk. 3 hours later, as Emma slept peacefully in her hospital bed, her breathing normal and color restored, Victoria found herself sitting in the hospital cafeteria with Marcus. They talked about his life as a single father raising 2 children on a paramedic's salary. My son is 9 and my daughter is 6, Marcus explained over their now cold coffee. Their mother left 2 years ago, and it's just the 3 of us ever since. It's not easy, but we take care of each other. Victoria listened intently as Marcus described his struggles with childcare, providing for his children, and his unwavering dedication to being the father they needed. She felt a shift in her understanding of what true wealth meant. Marcus, she said cautiously, I hope this doesn't sound presumptuous, but I'd like to do something to show my gratitude for what you did tonight. Miss Sterling, that's not necessary, Marcus began, but Victoria raised a hand to stop him. Please let me finish. What I want to offer you isn't charity. It's an opportunity. My company has been looking for someone to head our corporate safety and emergency response program. It would involve training employees, developing safety protocols, and managing emergency situations. The salary would be 3 times what you make now, with full benefits and flexible hours, so you can be there for your children. Marcus stared at her in shock. Miss Sterling, I appreciate the offer, but I don't have any corporate experience. I'm just a paramedic. You're a paramedic who carried a sick child 2 miles through a blizzard to save her life, Victoria corrected. You're someone who puts others' welfare ahead of your own safety. That's exactly the kind of person I want protecting my employees. 6 months later, Marcus stood in his new office at Sterling Industries, reviewing safety protocols while his children played in the company's new on-site childcare facility. Emma had made a full recovery and had become fast friends with Marcus's daughter, bonding over their love for adventure stories, and agreeing that Marcus was the bravest person they knew. You know, Victoria said, joining Marcus at the office window as they watched their children play in the courtyard below. I used to think success meant having enough money to solve any problem. Now, I think it means having people in your life who will carry you through the storms when money can't help. Marcus smiled, remembering that night when a medical emergency had led to so much more than he could have ever imagined. Sometimes the most important actions aren't the ones we plan, but those we take when we choose to show up for someone who needs us the most. Sometimes love shows up not through grand gestures, but through simple acts of courage that reveal what we are willing to sacrifice for the well-being of others.